And as DMK succession war rages on, expelled DMK leader MK Alagiri is leaving no stone unturned in turning up the heat ahead of the big September 5th rally. After firing a fresh salvo, Alagiri mocked at MK Stalin, who filed his nomination papers on Sunday. Take a look at this report.
It's Stalin versus Alagiri over late DMK patriarch Karunanidhi's legacy. The succession war rages on. Karunanidhi's political heir, appointed by the late Dravidian stalwart himself, on Sunday moved to seal control of the party. DMK working president offered prayers at his father's memorial at Marina Beach. He also visited the resting place of DMK founder Annadurai and paid respect. He also sought blessings of his mother Dayalu Ammal and party general secretary.
Being elected as the president of the DMK is the easiest of tasks. Challenges and expectations await the new president MK Stalin. Only an electoral victory can silence the critiques of Stalin from both within and outside the party.
As Stalin takes the path chosen by his late father, Karunanidhi's rebel son and ousted DMK leader MK Alagiri took a sharp dig, calling his younger brother a man in hurry to get DMK mantle. The Madurai strongman has also hinted at continuing his fight against Stalin. Alagiri, in an earlier chat with India Today, had vowed to return to active politics.
இப்போ 28ஆம் தேதி வந்து இப்போ ஸ்டாலின் அவர்களை வந்து தலைவராக்குவாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறாங்க. அத பத்தி உங்களோட கருத்து என்ன சார்?
அவர் செயல் தலைவரானாரு, இப்ப தலைவரானாரு. செயல் இல்லன்றதால தலைவரானாரு.
இப்போ நீங்க ஒரு ஆக்டிவான அரசியல்ல வருவீங்கன்னு எதிர்பார்க்கலாமா சார்?
ஆமா, கண்டிப்பா.
நன்றி சார்.
According to sources, DMK remains unfazed by Alagiri and has shot down his re-induction bid. The sources in the party ruled out chance of any truce between Stalin and Alagiri.
He wants to say that, look, I too have people, and though I may not win the elections, but I can sabotage the chances of DMK in 30 constituencies or 40 constituencies like that.
All eyes are now on DMK's organizational polls on 28th August and Alagiri's September 5th show of strength in Chennai. With Lokpriya Vasudevan from Chennai, Bureau Report, India Today.
So as the DMK succession war heats up, here are the big questions that we are asking on the broadcast today. So the first question that we are asking is, who will triumph in DMK Game of Thrones? That is question number one. And the second question that we are asking is, are these polls for DMK top job a mere formality? The third question that we are asking on the broadcast today is, can MK Alagiri stall Stalin's coronation? Question number 4 is, will Stalin have the last laugh in the DMK war? I have Narayan Lakshman, Associate Editor, Hindu, who's joining me on the broadcast. Also, T.S. Sudhir, political analyst, joins me on this broadcast. And my colleague Lokpriya is also live with me for all the inputs on this particular story. Lokpriya, in fact, you have been tracking all the developments on this succession war, so I'll come to you first. How much, or what is it looking like for Stalin for that matter? Because Alagiri with that rally is going to show his strength and a show of support that he's been claiming that he has from the DMK cadre. Do you think it's a worry for Stalin there?
Well, at best, MK Alagiri can only embarrass the DMK on the September 5th when he is going to undertake a massive rally here in Chennai to prove his strength. Alagiri wants to tell the DMK that he too has the cadre support and the DMK needs to re-induct him. But the DMK is in no mood to re-induct Alagiri back into the party because primarily the DMK wants to concentrate on more pressing issues at hand, that of strengthening the party and preparing the party for the two crucial by-polls in Tirupparamgundram and Tiruvarur, and then later in the Lok Sabha polls in 2019. So as of now, the DMK remains unfazed, and many senior DMK leaders say Alagiri's rally will not make any difference to the DMK primarily because none of the senior level leaders or even the middle level leaders have extended support for Alagiri's rally. In that sense, what Alagiri's rally can achieve is really to embarrass the party and in a way put the spotlight once again on Stalin and the DMK as the succession war question rages on.
Priya, before I go to the guests, you had that phone call with Alagiri, and he had clearly mentioned, and he goes on to continue with his attack on MK Stalin, and he had called him inefficient as the party president.
Well, yes, Griha, Alagiri has made no bones his reluctance about Stalin's leadership. At every given point, he has hit out at Stalin's leadership and he called Stalin to be a man in hurry. In fact, even today in the morning, his Alagiri's Twitter account has a picture of Karunanidhi and says he will be the permanent president of the DMK. So you can clearly understand how Alagiri is upset with the Stalin's coronation, but he is not in a position to do anything because he is not part of the DMK. He is not part of the General Council of the DMK that can challenge Stalin's coronation. In that sense, Alagiri feels left out from the party and the happenings in the party. And that is the reason why we see a frustrated leader calling for a massive rally on the 5th so that the DMK takes note of his clout.
Look, Priya, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. And to continue this debate further, my colleague Ankit Tyagi now joins us, and he'll be carrying on with this debate on this DMK succession war between MK Stalin and MK Alagiri.
Well, thanks, Ria. And interesting what is happening right now in fact, DMK. They, in fact, were the party which were now being seen as the party possibly for the 2019 election with the kind of, succession war and the kind of, things that are happening as far as the AIDMK is concerned. A government which was, a lot of people were saying, almost misgovernance and, self-goal after self-goal by the AIDMK and the chief there, the OPS, EPS combined. But now succession war, in fact, hitting the DMK as well. Is it going to affect the morale? Is it going to create confusion? And to understand more as far as this entire, progress as far as the DMK goes, let me go across to Narayan Lakshman, Associate Editor, The Hindu, who is joining us from Chennai. We are also being joined by T.S. Sudhir, political analyst, and keeps a very, very keen eye on the affairs in south of India. Mr. Lakshman, if I can come to you first, the fact that Alagiri is still, unrelenting in his attack, how much of this is going to create a confusion as far as the DMK cadre is concerned, or is it settled, at least in as far as the DMK cadre goes, that it is Stalin, the man who is going to lead the party from here on?
That's a great question, Ankit. I think the fact is there are several ways to slice this pie, and the first is that unlike the AIADMK, the DMK has always had a formal succession plan in place, even if it wasn't labeled as such, and that was for MK Stalin to step into his father M. Karunanidhi's very large shoes and take over the reins of the party. Now that is what you see happening at this current moment when he's filed his nomination papers, and he will be elected by the General Council, is the expectation. So that is the formal aspect of the DMK's organizational process. However, informally, what you're seeing is in some regards similar to what happened in the ADMK as well, which is that you have a power vacuum situation. Just like J. Jayalalitha of the ADMK, M. Karunanidhi was a towering leader since the years of the Dravidian movement, and he held the reins of the party extremely tightly. And in his absence, similar to J. Jayalalitha's absence in the ADMK, there is a bit of a power vacuum, and therefore there has been enough space for the emergence of a opposition voice within the party, even though if you do concede at this time, Alagiri does not have any standing in the sense of the formal the cadre of the DMK completely back Stalin, right from the district secretaries who have supported his nomination all the way to the MLAs and so forth. So Stalin cannot afford to take this lightly, he cannot afford to ignore it, and he must know that if he fails, as Lokpriya said, there are some acid tests coming up. If he fails to deliver on the by-elections or the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, there will be a voice within the party claiming that they are the legitimate voice, and that is the voice of Alagiri.
You know, Sudhir, also the fact that even when Karunanidhi in the last few years, he has not been very active. He was not very active as far as the politics in Tamil Nadu is concerned. And it was Stalin virtually ruling the party. When Karunanidhi was alive, Alagiri was anyway relegated onto the sidelines as far as the party is concerned. In that scenario, for the loyalist, for the Karunanidhi loyalists, for the party at large, does Alagiri in any way going forward, you know, can he claim a legitimate right or even dethrone Stalin going forward? Is there any sense of worry for future? Barring, the, of course, as we have been saying, the bypolls will be an acid test. There will be many things before 2019 and then 2019 as well. Does Stalin need to worry about Alagiri at all? Is he going to be a thorn in his flesh going forward?
Well, 2 points here, Ankit. One, in the last 4 years, ever since Alagiri was shown the door by Karunanidhi, he has been out of the DMK and pretty much out of active politics. It's only now that he has started making noises now because he wants to convey the point that after Karunanidhi's demise, just like in the AIDMK, there is some kind of a political vacuum existing even in the DMK. Even though Stalin was seen as a natural heir to Karunanidhi, he wants to convey the impression that the leadership question in the DMK is not a settled affair. Point number two, when Karunanidhi was alive and because of the sibling rivalry between Alagiri and Stalin, he had sent Alagiri away to Madurai to make him in charge of the southern part of Tamil Nadu, while Stalin was in charge of the northern part of Tamil Nadu, chiefly Chennai. The fact that Alagiri is planning to undertake out this rally on the 5th of September in Chennai, go to his father's Samadhi at the Marina, is trying to send a message to Stalin that I am here to take you on in your territory. That's the kind of war cry that Alagiri wants the political messaging to be interpreted as. That he's here, not in Madurai, not in his backyard of Madurai, where he would presumably have at least some kind of a core strength, but coming to Chennai and taking on Stalin on his turf. That's the messaging that Alagiri wants to send. But Stalin at this point in time definitely does not have anything to worry about. As Lakshman was pointing out, most of the district secretaries are loyalists of Stalin. In the last 4 years, he has ensured that all the party positions in every district, in every mandal, are stuffed with his men and women. So in that sense, as far as the leadership of the DMK is concerned, it is a settled question. It's only a formality that he will be elected as the president of the DMK tomorrow. But definitely Alagiri wants to ensure that he continues with his pinpricks on his younger brother and thereafter try to create that confusion within the DMK rank and file as the party prepares for the 2019 election.
Right. You know, Mr. Lakshman, the fact also remains that many people are seeing this as a very opportunistic move as far as Alagiri is concerned. Would he be able to, what would be his appeal to the voters, barring a few districts that he had in South Zone, you know, influence that he had, as Sudhir was also saying, barring those districts, would he have a mass-reaching appeal as far as people are concerned? Let's, for argument's sake, you know, put this scenario forward that if he opposes him, makes another party or a front, would it have considerable, can that in fact possibly cause some damage to the DMK and its chances in 2019?
Okay, I think Alagiri's reputation in a sense precedes him in a negative way because he has been, at least reputationally, associated with the sort of a more thuggish element of the party. So, you know, you have the case of a murder with Tha Kiruthanan where he was associated with that case, but then he was acquitted. Then you have the case of the Dinakaran offices burning, and again, some links there. And then thugs such as Pottu Suresh and Attack Mandian in violent conflict with each other, again associated with Alagiri. So he doesn't have the most polished image, and I think the DMK is trying to establish itself in the opposite direction. So even in the most recent campaigns you would have seen, even in 2016, Stalin is trying to shed that image of a traditional politician, you know, in the white garb, and he switched to a pant and shirt, and the Namak Kaname campaign. So they are actually moving away from the sort of image and reputation that Alagiri actually has historically. And let's not forget that his own father, M. Karunanidhi, ejected Alagiri from the party. Yes, he may be a strongman in an informal sense in the south, but he doesn't have any real standing within the formal setup, and that is where again I feel Stalin scores decisively in terms of control over the party cadres down to the grassroots level. So there is that point. At the same time, obviously we can't forget that in the bigger political scenario, that is in terms of the collapse of centralized power within the ADMK and the DMK, you have many people who are now able to play a spoiler effect. When you talk about even Rajnikant and Kamal Hassan and the different factions of the ADMK, Alagiri may be just one more of those playing a spoiler effect and taking away a chunk of the votes that the DMK could have won. Even if it's small, it could make a big difference in the final outcome.
You know, Sudhir, and this would be very interesting, and especially for a party like the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is desperate to get a foothold in Tamil Nadu. They have been playing, in the backdrop as far as the AIDMK is concerned. This will once again give them some sort of an advantage or some sort of a breeding ground to create confusion and make some sort of an alliance, which in 2019 possibly could get them a few seats in Tamil Nadu.
Well, yes, I mean, there will be many an anti-DMK, anti-Stalin element in Tamil Nadu, and there are many splinter groups now operating in the political theatre of Tamil Nadu who would be looking to make take advantage of this kind of fissures within the DMK's first family. And Alagiri would obviously also want to be seen as politically relevant. Now, how does he become politically relevant? He is not in a position to be a winner of in any case. He does not even have a political party to talk about. He may announce one on or after the 5th of September. But yes, there will be many groups within the AIDMK Parivar or with the BJP or many other smaller parties who may want to ally openly or tacitly with Alagiri with the express purpose of ensuring that there is a dent in the DMK vote bank. So the politics of Tamil Nadu, in fact, has always been very difficult to predict. It will become even more difficult to predict now, given the fact that there are many smaller parties trying to take a majority share of the political pie, as it were.
Mr. Lakshman, also it's very interesting to, from somebody who's sitting in Delhi as an outsider, it's very interesting to see the family dynamics as far as the DMK is concerned. Yesterday, that picture, many calling it a defining picture of Kanimari, in fact, hugging Stalin before he went and in fact, put his papers in for the president's post. Within the family, how do things as far as, are with siblings and the rivalry, of course, these brothers fighting for the throne. But what about the others in the family? How and where do they stand and stack up?
Well, it's, as you said, a very interesting picture of pushes and pulls in different directions. You have MK Stalin and Alagiri's own sister Selvi, who has again the reputation of trying to be a peacemaker and who does share a cordial relationship with both the brothers, who are of course mutually hostile between themselves. And it is believed that she may have tried or may continue to try exerting some informal pressure for them to come together. Similarly, Kanimari is believed, the sister from Rajatiamal, the half-sister of Stalin and Alagiri, is believed to have a cordial relationship with Alagiri, and that goes back to various relationships they had in terms of even the shares, the transfer of shares in the telecom sector to Kanimari. So they have a positive relationship in many regards, and she too at some point in time may try to build a bridge or may try to be peacemaker. But at this point, again, I think increasingly the family must also be aware that all the political power is settling right around Stalin and his smaller coterie. So I doubt that anyone will throw their weight behind Alagiri in that sense. So both politically and personally within the family, Alagiri continues to stand apart and be a little bit isolated from the main group, which is definitely behind Stalin at this moment.
Sudhir, for newbies like Rajnikant, Kamala Hassan, all of them, this couldn't have been more fertile ground for them to exploit the situation. From the two towering leaders like Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi, two Dravidian parties which shared the power between themselves, now the ground is open not only for them to garner some sort of support, but possibly in a coalition, on either side with the BJP or the Congress to in fact make a dent as far as the traditional Dravidian politics we have seen so far.
Well, I think the entire fabric and texture of the politics as we have seen in Tamil Nadu is set to change with the demise of both Jayalalitha and now Karunanidhi. Both the AIDMK and the DMK would kind of grapple with the divisions within their own party at whatever level and whatever be the nature and the extent of these kind of divisions. In this kind of a scenario, what does someone like a Kamal Haasan or a Rajnikant do? Alagiri spoke about the prospect of him working along with Rajnikant. Now, why would Rajnikant want to work with someone like Alagiri, who, as Lakshman was pointing out, does not really come with the best of reputations in the political arena? As far as Kamal Haasan is concerned, he would want to go alone, but does he really have the wherewithal to kind of taste success if he goes it alone, or is he part of a larger coalition which goes into the elections in the 2019 Lok Sabha poll? So a lot of thought will have to go in as to who is positioned where and who gets gets the best advantageous position by being in which part of the alliance. So a lot of ifs and buts. I think the political scene in Tamil Nadu is extremely confusing at the moment. And just a point to add to what Lakshman was saying, apart from the politics of Tamil Nadu, I think the first family of DMK is also involved in what really it holds for generation next.
Yes.
Alagiri is also interested in seeing some kind of a space for his own son, Dayanidhi Alagiri, and that's what is pushing him to ensure that there is some kind of a reconciliation with his brother, at least at a personal level, if not politically, so that his generation next is also in some way accommodated in the power structure of the DMK.
Well, that's very interesting, to say the least. Whatever is happening, of course, in the DMK, initially we saw that sort of a confusion in the AIDMK. At least the politics of Tamil Nadu is not going to be the same as it has been for the last many decades, and it does give an opportunity to a lot of new players to put their foot in the door as far as the politics of Tamil Nadu is concerned. Both Sudhir and Lakshman were saying that these are confusing times. Imagine the confusion the voters are going to have in 2019, which may in fact bring up some very, very interesting results from there as well. T.S. Sudhir and Mr. Lakshman, thank you so much for joining me on this edition of The Burning Question, and in fact putting your views forward, more clarity as far as this entire drama which is being played out in the DMK.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.